The conference room was exactly the kind of place where bad decisions disguised themselves as opportunities. Sleek glass table, leather chairs, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the financial district. Everything designed to project legitimacy, success, trust. Lauren sat across from Thomas Brennan, watching him slide papers across the table with practiced ease. He had the look of someone who'd perfected the art of appearing trustworthy. Expensive suit, warm smile, firm handshake. The kind of man who made you want to believe him. "As you can see," Thomas said, tapping the contract, "the returns are exceptional. 30% annually, guaranteed. Your investment would triple in just under 4 years." Lauren studied the numbers, her analyst's mind automatically flagging inconsistencies. The projected returns were too high. The risk assessment was too vague. The company structure buried in footnotes was deliberately complex. "These numbers seem optimistic," she said carefully. "That's the beauty of emerging markets," Thomas replied smoothly. "Traditional investments are saturated. But if you know where to look, where to place capital before others catch on, the returns are extraordinary. And you're offering this opportunity to me because ... Because your work at Morrison Analytics caught our attention. You understand financial structures, risk assessment. We need smart investors who can appreciate what we're building." It was flattering. That was the problem. Thomas had researched her, knew her work, understood how to appeal to her professional pride. Classic manipulation technique, but effective. "Can I take this to review?" Lauren asked. "Have my own legal counsel look at the terms?" Something flickered in Thomas's expression, so brief she almost missed it. Annoyance, maybe. Or calculation. "Of course," he said. "Though I should mention, we're closing this round of investment by Friday. After that, the opportunity closes. We have a limited number of positions available, and several other interested parties." The pressure tactic was obvious, but it worked. Lauren felt the urgency. The fear of missing out. She'd seen deals like this before, time-sensitive, exclusive, promising returns that seemed too good to pass up. "I understand," Lauren said. "I'll review tonight and get back to you tomorrow." "Perfect." Thomas stood, extending his hand. "I look forward to working with you, Lauren. I think this partnership will be very profitable for both of us." She shook his hand, gathered the papers, and left the office building. Out on the street, the afternoon sun felt too bright after the dim conference room. Lauren walked toward the subway, already mentally reviewing the contract. Something felt wrong. Her instincts, honed through years of analyzing financial documents, were screaming warning signs. But the opportunity was real, wasn't it? The company existed. Thomas seemed legitimate. The returns, while high, weren't impossible in the right market conditions. Maybe she was just being paranoid. Lauren was so lost in thought that she almost walked past the coffee shop where someone called her name. "Lauren?" She turned and saw Sebastian Volkov sitting at an outdoor table, laptop open, coffee steaming beside him. Her neighbor. The one who'd helped with Marcus, who'd shown her his world, who'd somehow become important in ways she was still processing. "Sebastian, hi." She felt herself smile despite her confusion about the contract. "You look troubled," he observed. "Everything all right?" Lauren hesitated. They'd agreed to get to know each other, but she'd been careful not to burden him with her work problems. Their relationship, whatever it was still new, still undefined. "Just work stuff," she said. "Investment opportunity that seems almost too good to be true." Sebastian's expression shifted, something sharp and focused replacing his casual demeanor. "Tell me about it." "It's not important, Lauren. Tell me about it." The authority in his voice made her stop. This wasn't friendly Sebastian, her helpful neighbor. This was someone else. Someone who commanded immediate obedience. She sat down and pulled out the contract. "This company, Brennan Equity Ventures. They're offering investment opportunities in emerging markets. High returns, seemingly legitimate structure. But something feels off." Sebastian took the papers and began reading with focused intensity. His expression darkened with each page. "Where did you get this?" His voice was carefully controlled. "Meeting this afternoon. Thomas Brennan reached out, said they'd researched my work and wanted smart investors. And you were considering it?" I was going to have it reviewed first, but… Lauren. Sebastian looked at her directly, and she saw something dangerous in his eyes. This is a scam. A sophisticated one, but a scam. Brennan Equity Ventures doesn't exist. The companies listed as investment targets are shells. The whole structure is designed to take your money and disappear. Lauren felt her stomach drop. How do you know? Because I know Thomas Brennan. And I know his operation. Sebastian's jaw tightened. What I don't know is how he found you or why he targeted you specifically. Maybe I was just random. No, men like Brennan don't approach people randomly. He researched you, knew your background, understood how to appeal to your professional interests. That takes work. Which means either he identified you as a particularly attractive target, or… Sebastian stopped, his expression darkening further. Or what? Or someone told him about you. The implication hung in the air between them. Someone had given Brennan her information. Someone had pointed him toward her specifically. I don't understand, Lauren said. Why would anyone do that? Sebastian pulled out his phone and made a call. He spoke in Russian, rapid and commanding. Lauren couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. He was giving orders, and they would be obeyed immediately. When he hung up, his attention returned to her. We need to leave. Now. Sebastian, what's happening? What's happening is that Thomas Brennan just made the biggest mistake of his career. Sebastian stood, gathering the contract papers. And we need to make sure you're somewhere safe while I handle this. Handle it how? He looked at her with an expression that sent chills down her spine. However necessary. Sebastian's car arrived within 3 minutes. Not the polite sedan from before, but something larger, darker, with windows so tinted Lauren couldn't see inside until the door opened. 2 men emerged, hard faces, alert eyes, the kind of people who made violence look easy. Sebastian's security team. Get in, Sebastian said, his hand at Lauren's back. Where are we going? Somewhere safe while I figure out what's happening. Lauren climbed into the car, Sebastian sliding in beside her. The security team took positions in the front seats, and they pulled into traffic with practiced efficiency. You're scaring me, Lauren said quietly. Sebastian's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry, but I need you to understand something. Thomas Brennan is dangerous. Not in the way I'm dangerous. I have rules, lines I won't cross. Brennan doesn't. He's a con artist who's graduated to more serious crimes. Fraud, extortion, occasionally violence when it serves his purposes. And you know him because he's operated in my city for 5 years. I've allowed it because his cons targeted people who could afford the loss. Wealthy marks who were greedy enough to fall for impossible returns. But you're not wealthy, Lauren. You're not someone who can absorb that kind of financial hit. Which means either Brennan's gotten careless, or something else is happening. Lauren processed this. You allow criminals to operate in your city? I allow certain criminals to operate in specific ways that don't threaten stability. Brennan stayed in his lane, high-end cons, targeting people with more money than sense. I had no reason to interfere. Sebastian looked at her seriously. But now he's targeted you. And that changes everything. Because I'm your neighbor? Because you're mine. The possessive way he said it should have alarmed her. Instead, it made her feel safer than she had since leaving that conference room. What are you going to do? Lauren asked. First, find out why he approached you. Second, make sure you're protected. Third, Sebastian's expression hardened. Make certain he understands that touching what's mine has consequences. They drove to a building Lauren didn't recognize, residential. Upscale, with security that scrutinized them carefully before allowing entry. They took an elevator to the top floor, where Sebastian led her into a spacious apartment. Safe house, he explained. Completely secure. No one knows about this place except my inner circle. Am I in your inner circle now? Sebastian turned to face her. Yes, whether you wanted to be or not, you are now. Which means you're protected, but also connected to me in ways that others will notice. Like Brennan. Exactly. If he knows about you, knows that you're important to me, then he either targeted you deliberately to get to me, or he found out after initiating contact and is trying to leverage the situation. Lauren sat on the couch, her mind racing. This morning I was just an analyst. Now I'm apparently bait in some criminal power struggle. Not bait. Never bait. Sebastian sat beside her, his voice gentler. You're someone I care about who got caught in something dangerous. That's my fault for not being more careful about protecting you. How could you have prevented this? You can't control every criminal in the city. No, but I can make sure everyone knows that certain people are off limits. I should have made that clear regarding you. I didn't, and now you're exposed. Lauren looked at him, really looked at him. This man who ran a criminal empire, who made problems disappear with phone calls, who was taking personal responsibility for her safety because someone had dared to threaten her. What happens if Brennan doesn't back off? She asked. Sebastian's expression became unreadable. Then I stopped asking nicely. Before Lauren could respond, Sebastian's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Send Marcus and Victor. I want eyes on him constantly. And find out who gave him her information. He hung up and looked at Lauren. Brennan just left his office. My people are tracking him. We'll have answers soon. Your people move fast. When I give orders regarding someone's safety, my people understand it's priority one. Sebastian leaned forward. Lauren, I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Okay. Have you told anyone about me? About who I am or what I do? No. Just my friend Emma knows we've been spending time together, but I haven't told her anything specific. And work? Have you mentioned me to colleagues? No, why? Because if Brennan knows about me, he got that information somewhere. Either he's been watching you and noticed our connection, or someone told him. I need to know which. Lauren thought back through her recent weeks. Had she been followed? Had she noticed anyone paying unusual attention? She couldn't think of anything obvious. I don't know, she admitted. I haven't noticed anyone following me, but I'm not trained to spot that kind of thing. You wouldn't necessarily notice. Good surveillance is invisible. Sebastian stood and moved to the window, looking out at the city. This is my fault. I got involved in your life without properly protecting you first. I should have been more careful. Sebastian, you couldn't have known. Yes, I could have. Should have. I know how this world works. Anyone connected to me becomes a target. I know that, and I involved you anyway because I was selfish. Lauren stood and walked to him. You weren't selfish. You helped me when I needed it. You've been honest about your world. This isn't your fault. It is, and I'm going to fix it. How? Sebastian turned to face her, and the cold certainty in his expression made her breath catch. By making an example. By showing everyone in this city that touching what's mine has consequences so severe that no one will ever consider it again. An hour later, Sebastian's phone rang again. He answered, listened intently, then nodded. Good. Bring him to the warehouse. I'll be there in 30 minutes. He hung up and looked at Lauren. They found Brennan. I'm going to talk to him. Can I come? No. Sebastian. No, Lauren. This conversation isn't going to be pleasant. You don't need to see it. If it's about me, I should be there. Sebastian studied her face. You want to see how I handle threats? I want to understand your world. All of it. Not just the parts you think I can handle. Something flickered in Sebastian's expression, respect, maybe, or concern. This isn't going to be like the warehouse with Dimitri. This is going to be harsher. I'm angry, and when I'm angry, I'm not as controlled. I can handle it. Can you? Because once you see this side of me, you can't unsee it. The version of me that makes people afraid. That's who you're going to see tonight. Lauren met his gaze steadily. Then let me see it. If we're doing this, if I'm part of your world now, I need to understand all of you. Not just the careful, controlled parts. Sebastian was quiet for a long moment. Then, okay. But you stay close to me, and if I tell you to leave, you leave. Agreed? Agreed. They drove to a warehouse in an industrial area Lauren didn't recognize. Multiple cars were already there, Sebastian's people, she assumed. As they entered, she saw Thomas Brennan sitting in a chair in the center of the empty space. He looked smaller than he had in the conference room. Less confident. His expensive suit was rumpled, and there was fear in his eyes that hadn't been there hours ago. 4 men surrounded him, Sebastian's security team. Not touching Brennan, but making their presence known. Making it clear he wasn't leaving until Sebastian allowed it. "Thomas," Sebastian said, his voice carrying across the empty space. "We need to talk." Brennan looked up, and the fear intensified when he saw Sebastian. "Look, I don't know what you think I did. You approached Lauren Harris with a fraudulent investment opportunity. You researched her background, crafted a pitch specifically designed to appeal to her, and planned to defraud her of a significant portion of her savings." Sebastian's voice was calm, but carried an edge that made Lauren shiver. "What I need to know is why. It was just businessman. Random target. I didn't know she was connected to anyone. Don't lie to me." Sebastian moved closer, and Brennan pressed back in his chair. "You don't approach people randomly, Thomas. You select targets carefully. So I'm going to ask you again, why Lauren specifically?" Brennan's eyes darted around, looking for escape, finding none. Someone gave me her name. Said she was a good target. Smart enough to understand the pitch, but not connected enough to cause problems if things went south. "Who?" "I don't know his real name. Just a guy who reaches out sometimes with leads. He sends me information. I pay him a percentage if the con works out." Sebastian pulled out his phone and showed Brennan something Lauren couldn't see. "This man?" Brennan's face went pale. "Yeah, that's him. But I swear, he never mentioned you. Never said she was connected to anyone important. If I'd known, if you'd known, you would have what? Approached her anyway? Stayed away?" "Which is it, Thomas?" "Stayed away. Obviously. I'm not suicidal. Everyone knows you don't touch Volkov's people. And yet here we are." Sebastian pocketed his phone. "You targeted someone under my protection. Whether you knew it or not doesn't change what you did." "I'm sorry." "I'll return everything, walk away, never come near her again." "Yes, you will." But that's not enough. The temperature in the warehouse seemed to drop. Lauren watched Sebastian transform from the careful, controlled man she knew into something colder. Something that made even his own security team look tense. "You need to understand something, Thomas. I run this city on a few simple rules. One of them is that my people, the people I protect, are completely off limits. Not negotiable, not flexible. Absolute. I understand, it was a mistake." "Yes, it was. And mistakes have consequences." Sebastian leaned down, getting close to Brennan's face. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything about your contact, how he reaches you, how you pay him, every detail. Then you're going to close your operation, liquidate your assets, and leave my city. You have 48 hours. If you're still here after that, my people will find you, and this conversation will seem pleasant by comparison. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. West Coast, another country, the bottom of the ocean. Just not here. This city is close to you permanently." Brennan nodded frantically. Okay, I'll leave. I'll disappear." "You'll never hear from me again." "Good. Now tell me about your contact." For the next 20 minutes, Lauren watched Sebastian extract information with surgical precision. He didn't raise his voice, didn't threaten explicitly, didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to make Brennan talk, spilling every detail about the mysterious contact who'd given him Lauren's information. When he was done, Sebastian straightened and nodded to his security team. "Marcus, make sure Mr. Brennan reaches his apartment safely. Victor, start the process of seizing his assets. Whatever he has goes into our emergency fund for the families. Dmitri, I want eyes on him until he's out of the city. If he's still here in 49 hours, handle it." The men nodded and moved to escort Brennan out. He looked back at Lauren once, and she saw genuine terror in his eyes. Not terror of violence, Sebastian hadn't laid a hand on him. Terror of consequences. Of power so absolute it didn't need physical force. When they were alone, Sebastian turned to Lauren. "Now you've seen it. The part of me that makes people afraid. Still want to be involved." Lauren stood in the empty warehouse, processing what she'd just witnessed. Sebastian waited, giving her time, his expression unreadable. "You didn't hurt him," she finally said. No, you didn't even threaten him directly. Not really. No, but he's terrified. And he's leaving the city because you told him to. Yes. Lauren walked closer to Sebastian. That's real power, isn't it? Not violence, not threats. Just absolute certainty that if someone disobeys, there will be consequences. That's how I prefer to operate, Sebastian said. Violence is expensive, messy, draws attention. But making people understand consequences through reputation and demonstrated capability? That's efficient. And the assets you're seizing? Brennan made his money through fraud. I'm redirecting it to the families of people who've been caught in violence in my organization. Not compensation, I don't pretend that makes things right. But it's something. Lauren studied his face. You have rules. I told you I did. But I'm seeing it now. Seeing how you actually apply them. Brennan broke your rules by targeting me, so you're removing him from your city. His assets go to families because you believe in some form of wealth redistribution, even if it's through criminal channels? You didn't hurt him because violence wasn't necessary to achieve your goal. You make it sound almost principled. Isn't it? Sebastian was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I've spent so long justifying my actions that I've lost track of whether they're actually principled or just self-serving with a moral veneer. Maybe both, Lauren said. Maybe you can be self-interested and still have rules that create a kind of order. That's a generous interpretation. It's an honest one. Lauren looked around the warehouse. This is your world. Not corporate offices and business meetings. This, places where you make decisions that change people's lives through nothing but your word. Does it frighten you? A little? But it also makes sense in a way that other power structures don't. You don't hide behind laws or regulations or corporate policies. You just make decisions and live with the consequences. Sebastian moved closer. The consequences are significant, Lauren. Brennan will lose everything, his business, his reputation, his home. Because he targeted you. That's not proportional, isn't it? He was going to steal my savings, destroy my financial security, possibly ruin my career. You're making sure he can't do that to anyone else. In a way that benefits my organization? So, you're a crime boss, not a charity. I'd be more concerned if you didn't find ways to benefit from your actions. Lauren paused. Can I ask you something? Always. The man who gave Brennan my information. What are you going to do about him? Sebastian's expression darkened. That depends on who he is and why he did it. If he's someone outside my organization, that's one response. If he's someone inside ... double quotes, he trailed off, but the implication was clear. Inside would be betrayal. Yes, and I don't handle betrayal well. How do you handle it? Permanently. The single word carried weight that made Lauren shiver. This was the line. The place where Sebastian's controlled approach gave way to something harsher. You'd kill someone for betraying you? For betraying you, Sebastian corrected. For putting you in danger. Yes, I would. Without hesitation. Lauren should have been horrified. Should have backed away from this man who spoke so casually about killing. But instead, she felt something unexpected. Protected. That's not normal, she said quietly. No, it's not. I'm not normal, Lauren. I've done things that would horrify you. Made choices that keep me awake at night. I'm not a good person. But you're an honest one. Is that enough? Lauren thought about it. About Sebastian's rules and his controlled violence and the way he operated in spaces where normal morality didn't reach. About how he'd protected her from Marcus, from Brennan, from dangers she hadn't even known existed. I don't know, she admitted. But it's more than most people offer. Sebastian looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. You're handling this better than you should. Maybe I'm just good at compartmentalizing. Or maybe you understand power better than most people. You're an analyst, you see patterns, understand systems. You look at me and see not just violence but structure, organization, rules that create a kind of order. Is that wrong? No, it's just unusual. Most people either glorify what I do or demonize it. You're doing neither, you're just seeing it. Lauren moved closer until she was standing directly in front of him. I'm seeing you, not the reputation. Not the fear you create. You, the man who gives fraudsters 48 hours instead of killing them immediately. Who redirects stolen assets to families who've suffered. Who takes personal responsibility for protecting people he cares about. That's still not enough to make me good. Good and bad aren't the only options. Maybe you're just necessary. A force that maintains order in places where law doesn't reach. Sebastian cupped her face gently. You're going to make me believe I'm better than I am. Or maybe you're going to realize you've been worse to yourself than you deserve. He kissed her then, not urgent or desperate, but deliberate. Like he was marking something important. When he pulled back, his expression was serious. If you stay in my world, there will be more nights like this. More situations where I have to make difficult decisions. More exposure to violence, even if I try to shield you from it. I know. And you're still choosing to stay? I'm choosing you. Whatever that means. Sebastian rested his forehead against hers. It means everything's about to get complicated. It's already complicated. It's about to get more complicated. Because now everyone knows you're important to me. That makes you valuable as leverage, as a target, as a way to hurt me. I can protect you, but I can't make you invisible. I don't want to be invisible. I want to understand your world. Live in it with you if that's possible. It might not be safe. Safe is overrated. I had a safe life before Marcus. It didn't protect me. You did. Sebastian pulled her close, and Lauren felt the tension in his body. He was holding her like she might disappear, like she was something precious he couldn't afford to lose. I'm going to find whoever gave Brennan your information, he said quietly. And when I do, you're going to see a side of me that's not controlled or measured. You're going to see what I become when someone threatens what's mine. And if that scares me, then I'll understand. And I won't blame you for leaving. Lauren pulled back to look at him. I'm not leaving, Sebastian. Not for this. Not for anything I've seen so far. I chose this path. I'm walking it with you. Something in his expression cracked vulnerability showing through the controlled exterior. You're either very brave or very foolish. Probably both, Lauren admitted. But I'm committed. Sebastian smiled slightly. Then let's go home. We have work to do tomorrow. What kind of work? The kind that finds traitors. As they left the warehouse, Lauren realized she'd crossed another line. She'd watched Sebastian exercise power, had seen how he handled threats, had understood that his protection came with weight and consequence. If you're listening to this story, the narration seems to whisper through the industrial night, and you want to know what happens when you see behind the curtain of power, when protection becomes possession, when the most dangerous man in the city decides you're worth every risk. Subscribe to the channel. Because Lauren just committed to walking beside Mafia boss Sebastian into the dark places of his world. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say yes when every logical voice says no. Lauren got into Sebastian's car, aware that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't fully predict. But she'd made her choice, and she wasn't looking back. The next morning, Lauren woke in Sebastian's safe house. He was already awake, sitting at the dining table with his laptop open and phone constantly buzzing with incoming messages. Morning, he said without looking up. Coffee's fresh. There's breakfast in the kitchen. Lauren poured coffee and sat across from him. Did you sleep? A few hours. I've been coordinating the search for our information leak. Any leads? Sebastian's expression was grim. Too many. Either we have multiple problems, or someone's been very careful about covering their tracks. He turned the laptop so she could see. The screen showed a complex network diagram, names, connections, dates of information exchanges. This is everyone in my organization who had access to information about you, 23 people. Any one of them could have passed it to Brennan's contact. Lauren studied the diagram. Can you narrow it down? I'm trying. But the problem is that information flows in unpredictable ways in my world. Someone could have overheard a conversation, seen a report, made a logical deduction. Not everyone who knew about you would have realized they knew. What happens when you find a leak? Sebastian closed the laptop. That depends on why they did it. If it was accidental, genuine mistake with no malicious intent, there are consequences, but they're not permanent. If it was deliberate betrayal, double quotes, he paused, then it's handled differently. Handled how? I'd rather not discuss that. Lauren took a sip of coffee. You said you'd be honest with me. About all of it. Sebastian met her eyes. Fine. If someone in my organization deliberately gave your information to Brennan, knowing it would put you in danger, then they betrayed me in the most fundamental way. They weaponized my personal life. That's unforgivable. So you'd kill them? Yes. The casual certainty in his voice should have shocked her. Instead, Lauren found herself understanding the logic. In Sebastian's world, loyalty was currency. Betrayal was death. How do you live with that? She asked. Making decisions about who lives and dies. Poorly, Sebastian admitted. I don't sleep well. I second-guess myself constantly. But the alternative is showing weakness, and in my position, weakness gets people killed. Sometimes the difficult choice is the only choice that keeps everyone else safe. Before Lauren could respond, Sebastian's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. When? A pause. How certain? Another pause. Don't approach. Watch only. I'm coming. He hung up and stood. They found something. What? The contact who gave Brennan your information. He's been spotted in the financial district. My people are tracking him now. Can I come? Sebastian hesitated. Lauren, I'm already involved. Let me see this through. He studied her face, then nodded. Stay close to me. And if things get dangerous, you do exactly what I tell you. Understood? Understood. 20 minutes later, they were in Sebastian's car, heading downtown. He was on the phone constantly coordinating his people, getting updates, making decisions with rapid-fire precision. Lauren watched him work, fascinated by the transformation. This wasn't the careful neighbor or the dangerous crime boss. This was a general commanding troops, a CEO managing a crisis. Strategic, controlled, absolutely focused. The target is moving toward the waterfront. One of his security team reported through the phone. Should we intercept? No. Follow only. I want to see where he goes, who he meets. This might be bigger than one leak. They drove in silence for a moment. Then Sebastian said, You're quiet. Just watching you work. It's impressive. It's necessary. In my world, information is everything. Someone compromised that. I need to know how, why, and who else might be involved. You think this is bigger than one person passing information? I don't know, but I don't believe in coincidences. Brennan approached you days after you and I started spending time together. That timing is suspicious. Either someone noticed our connection and acted quickly, or they were already watching me and saw an opportunity. Why would someone watch you? Sebastian smiled without humor. I'm the head of the largest criminal organization on the Eastern Seaboard. Everyone watches me. Law enforcement, competitors, people in my own organization who might want my position. Paranoia is a survival skill in my line of work. They reached the waterfront and parked near where Sebastian's security team waited. A man approached the car. Marcus, the head of Sebastian's security. He's in the warehouse 3 buildings down, Marcus reported. Met with 2 other men. We couldn't get close enough to hear the conversation, but they exchanged something. Papers, maybe documents. Photos. Marcus handed over a tablet showing surveillance images. Lauren saw 3 men in an empty warehouse, 1 she didn't recognize, and 2 who looked vaguely familiar. The one on the left, Sebastian said, his voice cold. That's Dimitri. The one I negotiated with about the shipment. I thought you had an agreement with him. We did, which makes this interesting. Either Dimitri is violating that agreement, or something else is happening. The man in the middle is Viktor Petrov, Marcus added. Works for the Bratva, Russian organization that's been trying to expand into your territory for 6 months. Sebastian's expression became unreadable. So we have my negotiation partner meeting with my competitors and an information broker who compromised Lauren's security. That's not coincidence. What does it mean? Lauren asked. It means I'm being maneuvered. Someone's trying to create conflict, weaken my position, possibly set up conditions for a takeover attempt. Sebastian looked at Marcus. Where are they now? Still in the warehouse. Should we move in? No. I want to hear what they're planning. Can we get audio? Working on it. Give us 10 minutes. While they waited, Sebastian explained the situation. The Bratva Russian mob has wanted control of this city for years. I've kept them out through a combination of strength and strategic alliances. But if they could weaken me, create doubt among my allies, they might see an opening. And targeting me does that how? It shows vulnerability. Makes my people wonder if I can protect them if I can't even protect my ... double quotes he paused. Whatever you are to me. And it distracts me. Forces me to focus on personal security instead of business. So this was never really about scamming me out of money. No, the money was just the hook. The real goal was creating chaos around me. Lauren processed that. I'm being used as a weapon against you. Yes, which is why I'm going to make sure everyone involved understands that touching you has consequences they can't afford. Marcus returned with a small device. We've got audio. They're still talking. Sebastian put in an earbud and listened, his expression growing colder with each passing second. Finally, he removed the earbud and looked at Marcus. Call Victor and Dimitri. Full mobilization. We have a problem. How big? Bigger than I thought. This isn't just about Lauren. This is a coordinated move against my entire organization. Within the hour, Sebastian's key people had gathered at a secure location, a legitimate office building where he conducted legal business, but with a conference room designed for very illegal conversations. Lauren sat in a chair against the wall, watching as Sebastian's inner circle assembled. She recognized Marcus and Victor from previous encounters, but there were others, hard men and a few women who all carried themselves with the same controlled danger. Dimitri isn't here, one of the women noted. Should we wait? No, Sebastian said coldly. Dimitri is the problem. He pulled up surveillance photos on the large screen at the end of the conference room. Images of Dimitri meeting with Viktor Petrov and the information broker. These photos were taken 2 hours ago. Dimitri, who I negotiated with in good faith 2 weeks ago, is now meeting with Bratva representatives. The same Bratva that's been pushing to expand into our territory. The same organization that's been causing disruptions in our operations for 6 months. Murmurs around the table. This was clearly unexpected news. The information broker between them is named Alexander Sokolov. He specializes in gathering intelligence and selling it to the highest bidder. 3 days ago, he sold information about Lauren Harris. Sebastian gestured to Lauren, to Thomas Brennan, a con artist who approached her with a fraudulent investment scheme. Why? Marcus asked. What's the connection? The connection is me. Lauren is important to me. Targeting her serves 2 purposes. It distracts me from noticing the larger play, and it makes me look weak to our people. If I can't protect someone I care about, why should anyone trust me to protect them? The room fell silent as everyone processed this. Dimitri betrayed us. One of the men said, What's the response? That depends on what he's actually planning. Sebastian replied. I'm not going to start a war based on one suspicious meeting. But I am going to find out what he's doing and why. He turned to Marcus. Where is Dimitri now? His apartment. He's been there for 45 minutes. No movement. Good, you, Victor, and I are going to pay him a visit. Everyone else, I want security tightened on all our operations. If the Bratva is making a move, they'll try to hit us where we're vulnerable. Make sure we don't have vulnerabilities. The meeting broke up quickly, people moving with practiced efficiency. Lauren stood, and Sebastian came to her immediately. You should stay here. This conversation with Dimitri might get unpleasant. I thought we agreed I'd see your world honestly. This is different. This is internal organization business. It might involve decisions you don't want to witness. You mean it might involve violence? Yes. Lauren considered. Part of her wanted to stay, to prove she could handle even the darkest parts of Sebastian's world. But another part, the practical part, recognized that some things didn't need to be witnessed to be understood. Okay, she said. I'll stay here. But Sebastian? Yes? Don't do anything you'll regret. Dimitri might have an explanation. He might, Sebastian agreed. But if he doesn't, if this is genuine betrayal, then there's only one response. I need my people to know that loyalty is absolute and betrayal is unforgivable. That's not cruelty. It's survival. He kissed her forehead gently, an oddly tender gesture given the violence he was about to potentially commit. I'll be back soon. Marcus will stay here with you. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call me immediately. I will. Sebastian left with Victor, leaving Marcus posted outside the conference room. Lauren sat in the silence, thinking about loyalty and betrayal and the choices people made in worlds where rules were suggestions. An hour passed. Lauren worked on her laptop, trying to focus on her actual job, the financial analysis work that paid her bills and had nothing to do with criminal conspiracies. When her phone rang, it was Sebastian. Is everything okay? She asked immediately. Define okay, Sebastian replied, his voice tired. Dimitri had an explanation. Not a good one, but an explanation. What was it? The Bratva has his daughter. They took her 3 weeks ago and have been using her as leverage to force his cooperation. The meeting we saw was him getting proof of life photos showing she's still alive. Lauren felt her stomach drop. They kidnapped his daughter? Yes, which explains the betrayal but doesn't excuse it. Dimitri had options. He could have come to me and I would have helped. Instead, he chose to work with my enemies and put my people at risk. What are you going to do? What I always do. Handle the problem. We're getting his daughter back, neutralizing the Bratva threat, and then Dimitri and I are going to have a very serious conversation about loyalty and consequences. You're helping him? Even though he betrayed you? I'm helping his daughter. She's innocent in this. And I'm helping my organization by removing a Bratva leverage point. What happens to Dimitri after that ... double quotes, he paused. We'll see. Sebastian, he was trying to protect his child. I know. Which is why he's still alive. But Lauren, he made choices that endangered everyone in my organization. That can't go unanswered. There have to be consequences, or the next person will think betrayal is acceptable if the reason is good enough. Lauren understood the logic but hated it. When will you be back? Few hours. This is going to take time to coordinate. Try to rest. It's been a long day. You too. I will. When this is done. He hung up, and Lauren sat in the quiet conference room, thinking about impossible choices and the price of power. Sebastian lived in a world where loyalty was absolute and betrayal meant death, where even good reasons didn't excuse bad actions, where he had to make decisions that hurt people he might even sympathize with, because showing mercy once meant showing weakness forever. How did he carry that weight? How did anyone? Lauren must have dozed off in the conference room because Marcus waking her gently startled her awake. Sebastian's back, he said quietly. Everything's handled. Lauren followed Marcus through the building to Sebastian's office. He was there, standing by the window, still in the same clothes, but looking exhausted. Dried blood on his sleeve that probably wasn't his. You're hurt? Lauren asked immediately. Not mine, Sebastian confirmed. Minor confrontation during the extraction, nothing serious. The daughter? Safe. Reunited with her mother an hour ago. The Bratva men holding her are no longer a concern. Lauren understood what that meant. You killed them. Yes, they kidnapped a child to use as leverage. That's beyond my lines. Way beyond. And Dimitri? Sebastian's expression was complex, anger, sympathy, resignation all mixed together. Dimitri is alive. But he's no longer part of my organization. I've given him a choice. Leave the city with his family, start fresh somewhere else, or stay and face consequences for his betrayal. He's leaving. I'm giving him money to resettle, contacts who can help him start over, but he's finished here. That's merciful. That's strategic. Killing him would have made me feel better but sent the wrong message. Sometimes mercy is more powerful than violence. It shows I can afford to be generous. It makes people loyal out of gratitude rather than fear. But you killed the Bratva men. Different situation. They were external threats who violated fundamental rules. Dimitri was internal, acting under duress to protect his child. The responses can't be the same or the system falls apart. Lauren walked to him and wrapped her arms around him. He held her tightly, and she could feel the tension in his body. Long day, he murmured into her hair. Long week, she corrected. It's only Tuesday. Lauren laughed despite everything. God, is it really? Really? Sebastian pulled back to look at her. I'm sorry you got pulled into this. Into my world's problems. I chose to be here. You chose without fully understanding the cost. Maybe, but I don't regret it. Lauren looked at him seriously. Sebastian, I saw you handle an impossible situation today. Dimitri betrayed you, but you looked deeper and found coercion. You rescued an innocent child. You made strategic decisions that balanced mercy with strength. That's not evil. That's complicated. Complicated is a generous word for it. It's an accurate one. You're not a simple person, Sebastian Volkov. You're a man trying to maintain order in chaos, making impossible choices with limited options. That doesn't make you good or bad. It makes you human. Something in Sebastian's expression cracked. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway. He kissed her then, deep and desperate, like she was the only real thing in his entire complicated world. When they pulled apart, Sebastian said, I need to ask you something. Okay. After today, after seeing how dangerous it can be connected to me, are you sure you want to stay in my world? Because I can protect you, but I can't make that protection effortless. There will always be risks. Lauren thought about it. About Thomas Brennan and Viktor Petrov and Dimitri's impossible choice. About the violence Sebastian dealt in, even when he tried to minimize it. About the weight he carried, making decisions that affected lives. I'm sure, she said finally. Not because I'm naive about the risks, but because I'd rather live honestly in your complicated world than safely in a simple one that's a lie. That's the most reckless thing I've ever heard. Then we're well matched. You're the most dangerous person I know. Sebastian smiled, tired but genuine. Come on, let's go home. I need sleep, and you need to stop watching me navigate crisis situations for at least 12 hours. Deal. They left the building together, and Lauren noticed something different about how Sebastian's people treated her. Before, she'd been background, the neighbor, the civilian. Now people nodded respectfully when she passed, acknowledged her presence, treated her like she mattered. Because to Sebastian, she did matter. And in his world, that made her someone to respect. The realization was both flattering and terrifying. Back at the apartment building, they rode the elevator in comfortable silence. When the doors opened on their floor, Sebastian walked her to her door, still across the hall from his. Like always. Come in for a minute? Lauren asked. I should let you rest. I'm not tired. Not really. Too much adrenaline. Sebastian followed her inside, and Lauren poured them both wine. They sat on her couch, close but not touching, processing the day. Can I ask you something? Lauren said. Always. Do you ever want out? Out of this life, this world, all the impossible decisions. Sebastian was quiet for a long moment. Every day. But there's no exit that doesn't end in death or betrayal. I'm too deep. No too much, control too much. The only way out is down. That sounds like a prison. It is. A very luxurious, very dangerous prison I built myself. But if you could, hypothetically, if you could walk away clean, would you? He looked at her seriously. A month ago, I would have said no. This is all I know, all I'm good at. But now ... double quotes, he paused. Now I'm not sure. Because you make me want things I can't have, normal things. A life that doesn't involve violence and impossible choices. A relationship that isn't complicated by criminal conspiracies. We could run away, Lauren said, half joking. Disappear to some island, live under fake names, never deal with the Brafa or Dimitri or any of it again. Tempting, Sebastian admitted, but unrealistic. My organization would collapse without leadership. Power vacuums get filled by worse people than me. And the FBI would find me eventually. They always do. So we're stuck. We're choosing. There's a difference. Lauren leaned against him, and Sebastian wrapped his arm around her. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, just being together in the quiet. Finally, Sebastian said, I should go. Let you actually sleep. Stay, Lauren said. Just tonight. I don't want to be alone after everything. Sebastian looked at her, considering. Then, okay, just tonight. They moved to her bedroom. And for the first time, Lauren fell asleep next to Mafia boss Sebastian Volkov, feeling safer than logic should allow. Lauren woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Sebastian was already up, moving quietly through her kitchen like he belonged there. "Morning," he said when he noticed she was awake. "I made coffee. Hope you don't mind. I should be making you coffee. You're the guest." Guest implies temporary. "I'm not sure what I am at this point." Lauren wrapped a blanket around herself and joined him in the kitchen. "What are you?" "Honestly, I don't know. We're not dating in any conventional sense. We're not just friends. We're something undefined and complicated. I like complicated. You're one of the few people who would." They drank coffee in comfortable silence, both processing the previous day's events. Finally, Lauren said, "What happens now? With your organization, I mean, is the crisis over?" "For now. The Bratva will retaliate. They lost men and leverage, but they'll be more careful. And my people know that loyalty is rewarded and betrayal has consequences." That's the message I needed to send. And the information leak? The person who gave Brennan my details? Alexander Sokolov. He's left the city. Permanently. He won't be brokering information anymore. Lauren understood the implication. "You killed him." "Not personally, but yes, it was handled. He sold information that put you in danger." "That's not something I can forgive or forget. Does it bother you? Killing people?" Sebastian set down his coffee cup. "Yes, every single time. But the alternative is showing weakness. And in my world, weakness gets people hurt. I don't enjoy violence, Lauren. I use it when necessary and lose sleep over it afterward. But I use it because not using it would be worse. That sounds exhausting." "It is. Being what I am, making these choices, carrying this weight, it's the most exhausting thing I've ever done. But someone has to do it. Might as well be someone who tries to minimize harm." Lauren moved closer to him. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean, you've been carrying all of this by yourself for years, making impossible decisions alone. But now you have me. I can't help with the crime boss stuff, obviously. But I can be here afterward, listen, help you process. Be someone you don't have to perform for." Something in Sebastian's expression shifted, vulnerability showing through his controlled exterior. "You do that? Stay with me despite everything? I'm already here. And I'm not planning on leaving. You should. You should run as far from me as possible. But I won't. Because running would mean going back to a safe, simple life that doesn't feel real anymore. You've ruined me for normal, Sebastian Volkov." He laughed, a real laugh, warm and genuine. "That might be the strangest compliment I've ever received. Get used to it." "I'm full of strange compliments." They finished their coffee, and Sebastian reluctantly said he needed to go handle business. Lauren had her own work to catch up on, the legitimate financial analysis that paid her bills. "Dinner tonight?" Sebastian asked at her door. "My place. I'll cook." "You cook? I'm full of surprises." "Then yes." "Dinner sounds perfect." After he left, Lauren sat at her desk and tried to focus on work. But her mind kept drifting to the previous day, the warehouse, the confrontation, the impossible choices Sebastian made with such careful consideration. She'd entered his world expecting black and white morality. Instead, she'd found shades of gray so complex, they almost formed their own spectrum. Sebastian wasn't good or evil. He was necessary. A force that maintained order in places where law didn't reach. And somehow, impossibly, he was also becoming hers. That evening, Lauren knocked on Sebastian's door at exactly 7. He answered looking more relaxed than she'd seen him, casual clothes, barefoot, hair slightly messy. "Come in, dinner's almost ready." His apartment smelled amazing. Lauren followed the scent to the kitchen and found a full spread pasta, salad, garlic bread, wine breathing on the counter. "You really do cook," she said, impressed. "My mother insisted I learn." Said a man who couldn't feed himself was half a man. Sebastian poured wine. "She died before seeing what kind of man I became. Sometimes I'm grateful for that. She wouldn't have approved? She would have been horrified. My father groomed me for this life, but my mother wanted something different for me, something legitimate. She lost that argument when I was 16. They ate dinner talking about everything and nothing: books, movies, childhood memories. Normal things that normal people discussed. And for a few hours, they weren't a crime boss and an analyst. They were just Sebastian and Lauren, getting to know each other without the weight of crisis. "This is nice," Lauren said as they cleaned up together. "Just being us. It is." I'd forgotten what it felt like to have a normal evening. Is this going to be our new normal? Crisis management followed by domestic dinner? If you're lucky. Though hopefully the crisis management becomes less frequent. They moved to the couch with fresh wine, and Lauren curled up against Sebastian comfortably. His arm wrapped around her automatically, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. "Can I ask you something?" Sebastian said. "Always. Do you regret it, getting involved with me?" Lauren considered the question seriously. "No. It's complicated and dangerous and probably reckless, but I don't regret it. You make me feel alive in ways I didn't know were possible. Even when I'm making you watch me handle criminal conspiracies? Especially then. Because you're honest about who you are and what you do. Most people hide their darkness. You acknowledge yours. That doesn't make it better. No. But it makes it real. And I prefer complicated reality to comfortable lies." Sebastian kissed the top of her head. "You're remarkable, you know that? You've mentioned it several times, because it keeps surprising me. You should be running from me. Instead, you're sitting on my couch drinking wine like this is normal. Maybe it is normal. Our normal, at least." They sat in comfortable silence, and Lauren realized something important. This was what she wanted. Not the danger or the crime or the impossible choices, but this quiet evenings with someone who understood her, who challenged her, who let her see all the complicated parts without demanding she look away. Sebastian Volkov was dangerous, criminal, exactly the kind of man she should avoid. But he was also honest, protective, and the only person who'd made her feel truly safe in years. Sometimes the best choices were the illogical ones. 3 weeks passed in a strange new rhythm. Lauren went to work, analyzed financial reports, maintained her legitimate career. Sebastian ran his criminal empire, making decisions that affected the entire city's underground economy. And somehow they made it work. They had dinner together most nights, sometimes at his place, sometimes hers. They talked about everything: his world, her work, the strange space where their lives intersected. Sebastian was teaching Lauren to understand criminal economics, and she was teaching him that not everything required strategic calculation. "You overthink things," she told him one evening as he debated the optimal way to handle a territorial dispute. "Overthinking keeps me alive, but it also keeps you stressed. Sometimes the simple solution is the right one. The simple solution usually involves violence. Then maybe the second simplest solution." He'd laughed and admitted she had a point. The territorial dispute was resolved through negotiation rather than force, saving everyone involved considerable trouble. Emma noticed the change in Lauren immediately. "You're different," she said over lunch. "Happier. Is this about that neighbor?" "Maybe." "Lauren, please tell me you're not actually dating a crime boss." "I'm not dating a crime boss. I'm involved with one. There's a difference." Emma dropped her fork. "That's not better. That's arguably worse." "It's complicated. It's dangerous. I know. But Emma, he makes me feel safe." Which I know sounds insane given what he does, but it's true. "For the first time since Marcus, I'm not afraid. Because Sebastian would destroy anyone who tried to hurt me." "That's not romantic." "That's concerning." "Maybe. But it works for us." Emma sighed. Just be careful. Please. I don't want to lose my best friend to some criminal conspiracy." "You won't. Sebastian keeps me separate from his world as much as possible." That was mostly true. Sebastian did try to shield Lauren from the worst parts of his business. But she was learning anyway, picking up details from overheard phone calls. From the people who came and went from his apartment, from the careful way he structured his days around crisis management. One evening, about a month after the Dimitri situation, Sebastian came to her apartment looking troubled. "What's wrong?" Lauren asked immediately. "I need to tell you something. And you're not going to like it." Her stomach dropped. Okay. The FBI contacted me today. They want to interview me about my business dealings. This happens periodically. They investigate, find nothing prosecutable, and back off. But this time, double quotes, he paused. This time they mentioned you. Me? Why? Because we've been seen together. A lot. And they're wondering if you're connected to my organization in any way. Lauren felt cold. Am I in trouble? No, you haven't done anything illegal. But they might approach you, ask questions about me, try to use you to gather information. What do I tell them? The truth. That we're neighbors who've become friends. That you know I run various legitimate businesses but nothing about any illegal activities. Which is actually true. I've been careful not to involve you in anything prosecutable. But if they pressure me, they won't. You're a civilian with no criminal record. They have no leverage. But Lauren, if they do approach you, you call me immediately. Don't answer any questions without allow you're present. I'll provide representation if needed. This is really happening. Federal investigation. It's always happening. They've been watching me for years. This is just the first time you've been close enough to be on their radar. Lauren sat down, processing. What happens if they find something? If they manage to prosecute you? Sebastian sat beside her. Then I go to prison. For a very long time. But that's not going to happen. How can you be so sure? Because I've spent 15 years building a system where everything illegal is insulated from everything legal. They can suspect, can investigate, can watch me constantly. But they can't prove anything because I've made sure there's nothing to prove. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's also necessary. This is my life, Lauren. FBI investigation, constant surveillance, always watching for threats. And now you're part of that. I'm sorry. Lauren took his hand. Don't be sorry. I knew what I was getting into. Did you? Really? Maybe not completely. But I'm learning. And I'm still here. Sebastian pulled her close. If this gets too complicated, if the FBI pressure becomes too much, you can walk away. I'll understand. I'm not walking away. You might want to eventually. Sebastian. Lauren pulled back to look at him. I've watched you handle impossible situations with more grace than most legitimate business people show in easy ones. I've seen you make difficult choices that I can't even imagine having to make. I understand what you are and what you do. And I'm choosing to stay anyway. Why? Because you're honest. Because you protect what's yours. Because you're trying to create order in chaos. And because, she paused, realizing what she was about to say. Because I think I'm falling in love with you. Sebastian went very still. Lauren, I know it's too soon. I know it's complicated and dangerous and probably stupid. But it's true. I'm falling in love with you, Sebastian Volkov, all of you. The crime boss and the man. The dangerous power and the careful consideration. All of it. He looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. I don't deserve that. Probably not. But you have it anyway. Sebastian kissed her, then deep and desperate and full of things he couldn't say out loud. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling for you too, he admitted quietly. Which is the most dangerous thing I've done in years. Because caring about someone gives my enemies leverage. Makes me vulnerable in ways I can't afford. But I don't care. I'd rather be vulnerable with you than safe and alone. They held each other in the quiet of Lauren's apartment, both understanding they just crossed another line. Admitting feelings made everything more real, more complicated, more dangerous. And neither of them cared. 2 months after Lauren almost lost her savings to a fraudulent investment scheme, she found herself sitting in Sebastian's apartment, watching him conduct a legitimate business meeting. It was fascinating. This Sebastian, the CEO version, was different from the crime boss version. More open, more animated, discussing real estate investments and market trends with genuine enthusiasm. When the meeting ended and his business partners left, Sebastian returned to where Lauren was reading on his couch. Productive meeting? She asked. Very. We're expanding into commercial properties in Brooklyn. Completely legal, properly documented, will create actual jobs. My accountant is thrilled. Your accountant knows about the illegal stuff? God, no. She handles only legitimate finances. I have completely separate people for the other side. Never let the clean money touch the dirty money. That's how you end up in prison. Lauren smiled. You've mentioned that before. Because it's important. Separation is survival in my world. He sat beside her and Lauren set down her book. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever think about what happens next? Long term, I mean. Where this goes. Sebastian was quiet for a moment. I think about it constantly. But I don't have good answers. My life isn't built for long-term relationships. It's built for survival. But if it was, if you could imagine a future that wasn't just crisis management, if I could ... Sebastian looked at her seriously. If I could imagine a future, it would have you in it. I don't know what that looks like practically. But I know I don't want to do this without you anymore. Lauren felt warmth spread through her chest. That's the closest thing to a commitment I've ever heard from you. It's the closest thing to a commitment I've made to anyone in 15 years. Then I'll take it. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Sebastian said, the FBI closed their investigation. For now, they found nothing prosecutable, as expected. But they're watching more closely. Which means we need to be more careful. Careful how? Careful about where we're seen together. Careful about what we discuss in public. Careful about making you appear too connected to my world. I don't want you caught in any legal crossfire. I appreciate that. But Sebastian, I'm already connected to your world. Trying to hide that now seems pointless. It's not pointless, it's protective. The less the FBI can connect you to me officially, the better for both of us. Lauren understood his logic but hated it. So, we're secret? Hidden? No, we're careful. There's a difference. I'm not hiding you, Lauren. I'm protecting you. Okay, I trust you. You shouldn't, but I'm grateful you do. They fell into their evening routine dinner. Wine. Conversation about everything and nothing. Normal things that normal people did. Except they weren't normal people and their relationship existed in the complicated space between legitimate and criminal. Later, as Lauren was getting ready to leave, she still maintained her own apartment, though she spent most nights at Sebastian's. He stopped her at the door. Stay, he said. I was planning to. I just need to grab some clothes from my place. No, I mean ... stay permanently. Move in with me. Lauren blinked in surprise. You want me to move in? I want you here. All the time. I'm tired of you leaving every few days to get clothes or check your apartment. I want to wake up with you every morning. Sebastian, are you asking me to live with you? Yes, I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I don't care. I want this, want you. Want us to stop pretending we're not building something permanent. Lauren felt tears prick her eyes. Yes, 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 I'll move in with you. Yes, I want this too. Yes to all of it. Sebastian pulled her close, holding her like she was something precious. You're sure? This means being even more connected to my world. Means federal scrutiny and danger and complications. I'm sure. I've been sure since the night you faced down Marcus. Since the elevator when you made one phone call and changed everything. Since you showed me your world honestly and trusted me with who you really are. I love you. Sebastian said quietly. I don't say that lightly. But I love you, Lauren. I love you too. All of you. The darkness and the light. The crime boss and the man. All of it. They stood in his doorway, the same doorway she'd stood at months ago when he'd protected her from her abusive ex. When her life had been simple and safe and boring. Now it was complicated and dangerous and extraordinary. And she wouldn't change a thing. 6 months later, Lauren moved through Sebastian's apartment. Their apartment now, with comfortable familiarity. She'd learned to navigate his world with the same analytical skills she applied to financial reports. She understood the signals that meant business was good, the tension that meant problems were brewing, the careful way Sebastian structured conversations when FBI surveillance was likely. She'd met his inner circle, earned their respect through her intelligence and her refusal to be intimidated. She'd attended legitimate business functions where Sebastian introduced her as his partner, and she'd learned to smile through conversations with people she knew were criminals. It was complicated. It was dangerous. It required constant vigilance. And she loved every minute of it. Because Sebastian Volkov, Mafia boss Sebastian, had given her something she'd never expected. Absolute honesty. He never lied about his world, never pretended to be better than he was, never asked her to ignore the darkness. He just let her see all of him and trusted her to stay anyway. And she did. Emma still worried, still cautioned her about the risks. But even Emma had to admit that Lauren was happier than she'd been in years. "You're glowing," Emma said one afternoon over coffee. "It's disgusting. I'm in love. It makes people glow. With a crime boss. With a man who happens to be a crime boss. There's a difference." "There really isn't. But I've given up arguing. Just ... Be careful. Please. Always." But Lauren wasn't always careful. She'd learned to take calculated risks, to understand when situations were genuinely dangerous versus simply complicated. She'd learned Sebastian's world from the inside, and she'd found that it made more sense than the legitimate world she'd left behind. At least here, people were honest about their motivations. One evening, Lauren came home to find Sebastian at his desk, staring at his laptop with unusual intensity. "Everything okay?" she asked. "The FBI is expanding their investigation. They've brought in new agents, allocated more resources. They're serious this time. Should I be worried?" "Not for yourself. I've kept you completely separate from anything prosecutable. But they might pressure you, try to use our relationship to gather information. Then they'll be disappointed." "I don't know anything prosecutable." Sebastian looked at her seriously. "You know more than you think. You've been living in my world for 6 months. You've met my people, overheard conversations, seen how things work. If the FBI put you under oath and asked the right questions, ... double quotes, I'd tell them I don't recall. Because that's the truth. I'm terrible with details that don't interest me, and criminal operations don't interest me nearly as much as the man running them." Sebastian smiled. "You're better at this than you should be. I learned from the best." He pulled her close, and Lauren wrapped her arms around him. They stood like that for a long moment, both understanding that their complicated life together might be getting more complicated, but neither of them was running. Because some choices, the brave ones, the reckless ones, the ones that made no logical sense, were worth every risk. Lauren had chosen danger over safety, complexity over simplicity, truth over comfortable lies. And Mafia boss Sebastian Volkov had chosen her back. In a city full of darkness, they'd found light in each other. In a world of violence, they'd created peace. In the space between legal and criminal, they'd built something impossibly real. Sometimes the best love stories were the complicated ones. In the shadows between right and wrong, Lauren discovered that protection doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it wears expensive suits and speaks in quiet commands that make dangerous men back down without a single raised voice. Mafia boss Sebastian didn't save her with promises or platitudes. He saved her by taking absolute responsibility for her safety and making sure every threat understood the consequences. And Lauren learned that sometimes the most dangerous choice is the safest one you'll ever make. Because when power decides to protect instead of harm, when violence becomes precision instead of rage, when the man everyone fears becomes the only person who makes you feel safe, that's when you understand that love exists in unexpected places. And sometimes those places are exactly where you need to be.